Hey, what's up, guys? I got asked to do a personal video, so I'm going to. It's a question actually I've been asked in the past, at least once or twice, which is about these blends you can get from UGL sources, domestic sources, which might be a blend of testosterone. It might be a blend of testosterone, masteron, and something like trembolone or something. Then there's also these trembolone blends and things like that. And I always kind of had the inclination to stay clear from anything like that because it's just like it might be harder to dial for one, like the right amount. Like you could always go on what they say, but you truly don't ever know like what the blend is. I actually heard, getting into probably the straight up reason why not to do it right off the bat. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I've heard from people who've actually tested these things that it's very rarely what they're selling you. For example, if you get like some trend blend, it's probably just Trend Ace most of the time or something like that. But I don't want to speak out of my ass too much. I always say, like, that's what I say when I'm speaking about something that I don't know, can't confirm or know much about. But what I can confirm and know is that if you got testosterone, say cypionate, whatever, you can test for that, correct? I can test that and see that it's test CYP. And I made videos where I test my own thing. If you get Trenace, you can test for that. If you get Masteron and Anthate, you can test for that, correct? So why not get each component that's within the blend and blend it yourself, essentially, like in the right ratios. That's what my inclination is, because, and I understand why that there's some blends before, which was like, say, testosterone sus or whatever, suspension, that you only had to inject it with like every so often, not as frequent. And that was kind of the draw to that, because there were some longer esters and some shorter esters or something, et cetera, et cetera. But that, from my understanding, that's pretty much outdated now. Like, it's not even worth doing that. From my understanding, from the science, I know some of it's bro science, is that you just want to pick a base of esters that are going to be like testosterone cypionate, where you have an injection frequency where your curve is going to be sustained. You're not going to have this going on. It's going to be like, or it may have like this, like a little sawtooth, but it's not going to be like, correct? So having the base of that, picking compounds and with the right injection frequency, we're not going to have these ups and downs. So if you're able to do that, then this whole blend idea, as far as injection frequency goes, is outdated. Now I think a lot of these companies, UGLs, brand it in kind of a convenience, or it's kind of like a branding strategy, I believe. That's just, again, my inclination. I can't confirm. Maybe some of them do this, but again, like, I really don't see a major reason to complicate things too much. I made a video the other day which was keeping things simple, and keeping things simple is just a test base, picking a DHT compound, and maybe a NOR19. If you really want to go trembolone, sure, you can do that. My recommendation, I recommend all my videos, especially more novice users, is NPP, and then injecting every other day, all three together. That's the blend. You made your own blend. You don't need to have anything blended, right? This idea of buying something with trembolone and masteron blended together, no, I'd much rather buy each and test each independently, because guarantee if you buy that masteron trembolone blend, it's probably just going to be trembolone. I'm not going to lie. That's what I would think. That's what I would be scared of anyway. Yeah, so I think it's just a marketing strategy. What I do know is I've heard people talk about this in the past. I think it's I forget the name. Doesn't matter. Some guys who are well known in the industry anyway, they talk about this, and they did not recommend it either. It's the same inclination as me. Same. So I don't think it's a good idea. And with testosterone in particular, test 400 different test things. Just like Sustanon, it's just not needed. Just go test CYP or test an Anthate, man. Because that's the perfect, you don't want to do test probe unless you're like pre-contest or something. Like, there's a time and a place maybe for that, but for your average guy, you're not going to be doing test probe. Just do test CYP. Test is test. It's all the same, but the only difference is the half-life. So you want one that with an ideal half-life because of your injection frequency. Am I correct? Now, somebody like Dr. Todd Lee says even with test SIP, you should inject every day. Yeah, you could, but like probably most ideal. But you know, it's not ideal because you're injecting every day. I do every other day personally, and I have no problems at all. Some people get away with doing it every week, but I think then you're running into more of this thing as opposed to just like like in blood serum concentration levels. That's what I'm trying to signify. So yeah, definitely not test 400. Get test SIP and test for the test SIP. Buy a test kit. Make sure your UGL is proper. And then get something like Masteron, Propionator, or Nanthi. Test for that. And then if you're doing trend, test for that. If you're doing NPP, test for that. Spend that little extra in those test kits. Some people say that they're not reliable, but I've always found them reliable, and it's always worked for me. Because if you got this blend, you can't test for everything in a blend. Maybe that's why they do it. Maybe there's some bullshit in it that, you know, I mean, I think just my intuition says it's bullshit. In my rationale, rationale, if I can overthink things and be like, yeah, why would they do that? Blah, 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 this is bullshit. Then my intuition's like, no, I wouldn't take something that's a blend. It's just like, why would I just make my own blend? And that's going to be the answer to your question. Make your own blends. But the thing is, you don't need to overcomplicate it, especially with testosterone. Just test SIP. And then a DHT, pick one, a Masteron, Primo Bone if you really want. If you really want to add something else, if you really want to try and do it, a small amount, NPP is probably better for you. That's what I'm going to say as your own blend that you should be doing, all right? So thanks for watching, really simple video. Peace.